Okay, I'm back again today. What a different day. It's horrible out there. I could have stayed in bed for at least another 2 hours. Anyway, I've had a few people asking me questions about what kit I use for the stuff I do. So here we go, right? This is a Hasselblad, yep, just a little box. But it's a beautiful box. Anyway, it's a modular system, which is great. So you can buy your basic camera and then buy extras and take things off, add things. Anyway, so this is what I do. When I'm doing the surfy stuff and the walking around, I tend to use a prism viewfinder. It just makes shooting a lot easier. So that I'll put that on first. So that's the viewfinder's gone on. Now we have the one thing I love about the Hasselblad is the fact that you can change the film backs. So this has got a roll of HP5, the rest of the shots left over from yesterday. So that goes on the back. But then if I suddenly decide to change film stocks, providing I've got spare film backs, I can swap things round. Also, what I've got here is a 2x extender, which doubles the focal distance. So let's put that one on. 2x extender on there. And then what I have here right now is I have a CF150 lens. Beautiful piece of kit. That's an f4 lens. Okay, so now my little box has turned into a weapon with 300mm lens. Now the thing is, with the medium format, when you go 300mm, that only actually gives you the equivalent of 150mm on a regular full frame digital camera. So my scope is limited, but I'm working on that. There's other things in the pipeline, shall we say. It has its, there are advantages and disadvantages to this system. One of the disadvantages is with the CF150 and the extender. This extender drops 2 stops of light, and that really can make quite a difference actually. So what I end up doing, like I did yesterday, is I end up pushing the film. So I pushed the film 2 stops. It's bright and sunny, so that could create some issues. Today it's cloudy and I'm still on the same roll of film, but I'm going to have to develop that film to allow for the high contrast scene that I was in yesterday. Whereas in an ideal world I would have shot the whole roll off, developed that roll for high contrast, and then maybe today I would have gone out with a whole different set of settings and developed my film differently. But hey, that's the price you pay for using this kind of equipment. And I guess for me it's the love of it. I mean, I've been using digital cameras with a Sigma 150-600 lens, 11 frames per second rather than 12 frames per day. But it just makes the whole experience is just so much more tactile, thoughtful. I don't know, I just absolutely love this camera, and I love what I'm doing with it. So yeah, I might not love it today in that weather. I might as well talk about this little weapon here. This is the not the Sekonic. This is a Pentax Spot meter. I've got a Sekonic, but I'm a convert to this light meter. So on the front dial here, I can set my ISO, ASA, whatever you want to call it. So for example, I'm on a 400 film, but then I'm pushing 2 stops. So the first thing I do to help me with the mental arithmetic, I'm no good at maths, so to help me with the arithmetic, let's assume I've pushed it. So I'll push that up to 1600. Now I'm using the 2x extender, which drops 2 stops again. So even though I'm shooting and developing for 1600, the first thing I'll do is I will drop it back, say to 400. Now if I had another filter on, I'd maybe even have to drop a bit further back again to almost ISO 75 if I've got a polarizer and the 2x extender. That's why I'm having to push all these films and stuff, is because of the limitations that I do have to deal with what I'm doing. So when I'm metering, the first thing I'll do is I'll just go looking for something that is middle grey. A spot meter, whatever you pointed at, there's a little dot in the middle of the screen when you look through it. It will give you an EV reading, which is the exposure value, EV5, EV10, etc, etc. First thing I'm going to do is I will actually try and find something that's middle grey. And because I've got 0 brain cells and memory, I will put that middle grey on the dial straight away. So let's just do it now. Let's do it from here. I'm going to just meter the road. Okay, that's sort of middle grey, maybe slightly darker. So that's EV 7.2, which sucks, to be honest with you. Okay, so EV, this would be a challenge. EV 7.2. So now 7.2 is sitting there in the middle of the dial. That's my middle grey. But then what I'll also do is I will look at other things within the scene. So I may point it to the sky, I might point it at the water, I'll point it at the rocks, and then I can read those EV values, and then I can see where those EV values sit on the scale, and then I will try to interpret them, and then I will try to make a best judgment as to what will be the perfect exposure. Yeah, it works, but it is a challenge. So just for example, like now I've just metered off the road there. Now I'm going to call that slight, half a stop below middle grey, optimistically probably a stop. So bearing in mind that I'm using telephoto lenses and I need to freeze the action, especially if I'm handheld, then well, look, at the moment in this light, 2/50th is f2. I don't even have f2. F4 at the moment, which is my widest aperture, is showing 1/60th of a second. So I'm not going to be able to hand hold this camera and get a nice clean sharp shot at those settings, which is why I'm waiting for the light to come up a little bit. I mean, it's early in the morning and it will get brighter, and there is probably more light out there. I've just metered through the window of the van, and my windows are always dirty as well. So there you go. That's the Pentax Spot meter. Love it. It's great. Another tactile way of taking photos.